Hi, Susan. How are you? Hey, welcome.
We
So good to
did
see you.
it. Yes, I was so determined to
I
get this.
love it because we did try, right?
We
And now
did.
it's
Yeah.
time. So we're here saying hi to everybody on YouTube.
Hello.
And I am so excited. I have a few questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
And for the benefit of everybody who's going to learn
Mm-hmm.
from you.
Mm-hmm.
And also thanking you because I've heard lately I've been, talking to people and they're saying, and I know this because I've known you since 2014, I think, and how
I
gifted you are.
know. Can you believe how time has come by? We
It's
know each other
crazy.
so
It's 12
long.
years, right? It's
When you sent
magic.
those pictures, I was like, wow.
Yeah. But we met when I was taking the Body Talk, all the certifications, and you were already in the energy healing field. So I do have some questions for you for the sake of soul and body education. But before
Hey.
that, can you tell us a little bit about your journey with energy medicine and how you've embraced it? Because sometimes we have, at least in my life, it was not easy to really own it because there's so much prejudice and we're seen as, space cadets or if airy fairy, and this is a very
Or
serious.
woo-woo.
Ooh, I don't like that word, but yeah, that's the word people use. So how was it for you? Were you like a spiritual child? Did you have a spiritual upbringing in your family of origin? Did you own it as a teenager? How was your story? How's your trajectory with that? With that
Oh,
path?
good. It's such a good question. It's always so nice to do some deep dives, right? And go back into the archives. But yeah, I would say as a child, I was always very interested in astrology. I grew up in New York, so I would always love to go to like St. Mark's Street where they had all the readings and I just loved all of that. So I was always very fascinated with it. And fast forward, then I moved into yoga meditation, and that kind of like opened up so many doors and platforms for me in the healing and energy medicine. So I always like to say I was a patient, and then I became a student, and then I became a practitioner and studied and continued ed and still continue. I'm always a student, I think, right? And always learning, always learning.
I love that. Did you have any resistance owning it? Because a lot of the people that are watching us, people in my newsletter, are energy healing. They have the gifts, but not everybody develops them or develops them in a very shy way, don't really own it, have some sort of inner conflict or outer conflict. How was it for you? Because you really are owning this. You're a practitioner, you're an instructor of Body Intuitive, so in other modalities as well. So how does that feel for you on a personal note so that you can inspire people to really own their gifts and know that this is also a professional path, right?
Exactly. I would say like curiosity. I'm always curious to learn new modalities. I recently loved learning about the Akashic records and, diving deep into that. And so I feel like this is the kind of path that there's always expansion and experiences and new things to learn, right? So even science, right? Coming up with new ideas, thoughts, and medicine and mind-body medicine. And I find now it's so much more integrative than it was when I really started my path 20, 25 years ago. It was so separate, medicine, Western medicine, Eastern medicine. And I feel like today, more so than ever, it's so much more accepted and also integrated, right? All around now, we have function medicine doctors, integrative health practitioners. So, finding what you are interested in, I think, is the best advice I would give someone that's starting or wanting to start, to know energy medicine. Yeah.
Love that. So we may start getting a little technical here, and this is something that I believe is a bridge to the skeptical and to the people who are too rational or even too materialistic, because energy makes sense even to the most skeptical mind, right? So if we dive a little more into um, the logic behind it, this is my first question to you on this level. How do you see the connection between body and soul in the systems that you are certified in? See the connection between body and soul. Do they mirror each other? How is that connection?
Yeah. Oh, I love you because you always come up with the juiciest questions.
I'm a Gemini. You're a Gemini too,
I'm
so
a Gemini. Yeah, I had to like change my seating position and get ready to answer this. So I feel like this is like one of the oldest, deepest questions humans ask, right? It's from so ancient, so long. And I also want to say that like different traditions, different, definitely answer this differently, right? So, they have different perspectives, right? And they draw from that, their philosophy or their science or Chinese medicine or even religion, right? So for my training and what I believe and what I practice for myself and my clients is that the body is our physical body, right? And that's like movement and sensations and even hormones, our five senses, our nervous system, right? Our physical body, right? We have a physical body, and then we have a soul, right? Which is more than the physical body. I think we could say we talk about consciousness, right? So the soul is our consciousness, right? And it's our purpose, our connection, who we are, our core, our values, our love, our purpose, right? We're always, you and I have, something in common. We always are honing in on our purposes, right? Especially when we do the cardinal crystal method, right? I always feel like so aligned, right? Aligned. And so I would answer that very clearly. I think it's very clear that the body and the inner experiences influence each other, right? I do, with emotions, values, inner essence.
if we think about imbalances in the body, this is what I feel is most fascinating, because in the cardinal method and in all the energy healing modalities that there's a common ground that says that something trickles down from the subtle realm to the physical realm, right? So before
Yeah,
something exists on the material level or the physical level,
goes
it,
up.
it started on a subtle level, on the level of consciousness, on the level of the emotions. So if we have that perspective, which is very different from the materialistic Western not vibration, but mindset or paradigm,
Mhm.
um, and some diseases are actually acknowledged for being of an emotional root cause, like autoimmune. Some are accepted by Western medicine, and we're not trying to create a battlefield here. We're trying to create connection and bridging, not substituting one for the other, but just expanding perceptions and perspectives.
Mhm.
So when our emotions are imbalanced, if they're imbalanced for a long time, they can create diseases. That's like a basic question for us practitioners, but not for most lay people. So, how would you explain this to someone who has never heard of this before? Do emotions create diseases, or do emotional imbalances eventually create physical imbalances?
Okay, that's a good question, especially in energy medicine, from the way I look at, this whole picture. And, the thing is, I think they each influence each other. Right. So, for example, I had a client the other day that came in with all these muscle pain and digestive problems and, fatigue and headache. And what came up was like, what is going on with emotions? And it was worry. And it happened to have been a context in the story of her son, that she was worried about her son, and she was showing all these symptoms in her physical body. So rather than seeing the body and the soul as separate, right, I look at them as like two dimensions, right, kind of parallel to each other. The body grounds us, and the mind interprets our experiences, right? So. I think when we're in balance, and that's what we try to do with energy medicine and integrative medicine, is we really try to balance the excess and the deficiencies, right? And we want the body to feel in harmony. And so people often will say when they feel that way, like, oh, I feel really aligned, or I feel really good, or I feel at peace, right? So I think, yeah, I think there are ways to work with both emotions and physical.
That just another question like randomly popped into my mind, which is something I love and that you do so beautifully because I have sessions with you and I'll never forget because you're very connected to. That's important for us to also mention here because the cardinal method uses crystals for healing, but crystals are tools and they're enhancers and catalyzers because at the end of the day, if you just use an external prop and the person is not receptive to it, you can get little results, like very feeble results, but if there is an openness and if there is an acceptance, external energies from like or external physical elements, I mean not elements, not the best word for this, but external props or tools can enhance a session. So for example, I had raindrop therapy with you, essential oils or crystals. There is the realm of the physical body, there's the realm of the emotions, which is the inner world, and we can also enhance the healing and the awareness and the connection with holding crystals or energy like essential oils. Can you talk about this third aspect of it? We have the body, we have the soul and the emotions. Of course, we have the practitioner with her background. But what about essential oils and crystals? Let's just look at these two. And what is your perspective on those? Because people think they're amulets sometimes, or they're like, "Oh, the crystal healed me," or the essential oil healed me. It's not that. It's not one factor. It's not just one thing. It's a myriad. It's like a symphony of
Right.
different things, right?
Yeah. Yes. That is very true. And I always start my sessions or my, work with a crystal. I always ask, right? And I always think the crystal grounds us, right? For me, I think, and people really align with that. I think it's a really like healthy way to, open a session. And then also the oils I've been working with for so long. Um, and there different oils, different benefits, the go-tos for me are always frankincense. I always just feel like it's grounding, it's uplifting, and it's just such a beautiful way to experience, your senses, right? Lavender and eucalyptus, there's so many beautiful ones, and doing different things, right? They all do different element. They address different elements, and I also like to look at things on an elemental Chinese perspective, right? So, using different oils for different elements is enhancing. Everything just enhances. At the end of the day, honestly, it's all about like I always say, setting the table at the session, whether we're diffusing oil, putting some on acupoints, or putting a crystal on someone's heart or head or feet, right? Feet is always such a great way to ground back in. And so this is just all tools to help enhance the body to relax and move into parasympathetic because everyone is living in sympathetic mode, right? Stress, and especially if you live in a city, busy city, and all that EMFs and distractions, right? So when we take the body back to homeostasis, it's already starting to heal. There's not much more we could do. We're holding space, right? We're healing Reiki. We're, putting our intention and setting up the plan, right, for the body. Body's so intelligent. It knows, right?
I love it, and I believe the body physically and even emotionally on all levels, all we want to do is go back to nature. So when you mention deficiency or excessive, the balance aspect, when we go back to nature, crystals ground us, essential oils, it's just the physical senses bringing us back into this stability. And that,
They
as you said, just this, that's the starting point that always already allows us to heal. But one thing that I find that the Western mind doesn't really understand that I would love for you to dive in and because you are so connected to this and you're now teaching this as well, we have the elements around us in nature, and the elements are fire, earth, right, water, metal, wood in Chinese medicine. But people don't really understand or even know that we also hold the elements within us, even governing organs. So, can you talk a little bit about this relationship between nature and the elements and the physical body? Because I think a lot of people do not know
I say nature versus nurture.
that.
It's true. I love the five elements. So thank you for asking that question. I think it's one of the most powerful, honestly, really ways of balancing the body in Chinese medicine. The five element theory is rooted, obviously, in traditional Chinese medicine, and it's a system, right? It's an ancient, old system. Many practitioners see it as a way of understanding the whole person rather than separate, right? So we all have all the elements in our body, right? We have fire, we have earth, we have, water, right? Everyone has a dominant one and then maybe a deficient one, right? So I've been told by Dr. Janet, who's our teacher, I'm like fire element and earth element. So I hold those two. But according to energy medicine, the five elements relate to all the seasons, right? Summers would be fire. So we're in the heat right now, right? Fire element. Then we have fall, which is earth and metal. And then winter is water. And then spring is wood, right? Starting the new beginnings. And they each have different aspects about them. Again, going back to excess and deficiency. So, that's the thing we want to balance, right? We want to balance these. And harmonize the body, right? So each element also holds an emotion, and we go back to the emotions, right? So lots of times this system of five element where we go back to the root cause, and lots of times, it's root down into an emotion, whether it's worry or fear or anger, right? Wood and anger are, the emotion of anger is related to the wood element. So we really look at a person as a whole, right? Like what are they emotionally experiencing, right? What are some of the physical body pain, right? That would be a deficiency in the wood element, right? Tendomuscular system. So it is a very accurate system, and it addresses so many things, meridians, the senses, the acupoints, the aspects. And we just want to balance yin and yang. We just want to balance, right? The body, and that's homeostasis. So
Yeah, and the thing is, it's so beautiful and poetic and logical at the same time because, like you said, wood element rules anger and it can imbalance specific organs in the body. Each element with an emotion and organs on the body level, right? And we can see that we can treat those in a non-invasive way with the protocols in the energy medicine. I mean, there is acupuncture, but there's also the five elements can be seen in other systems as well that are energetic and non-invasive, right?
right.
So if people have no idea whatsoever about the relationship between the element and the organ and the emotion, how this is so awesome, and I would love for them to get this introduction to this if they're not familiar. So there is the elements nurture each other, right? We have fire, and it rules the heart, and it rules the pericardium, and it rules the small intestines,
Right.
and the emotions of joy and also sadness. And then, can you talk a little bit about just like for people who have never heard of this before, the element, the emotion, and the organs, so that we,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So you just talked about fire, right? And that's the summer.
Yeah.
And you think about like the heat and the sun and the warmth and that kind of balance. So if somebody was like, let's say, imbalanced in fire, they may have a lot of heat in their body. They may have very red skin or eczema or rashes. You know what I'm saying? Too much heat, right? So we always look at that, right? So then we balance that. For Earth, we look at the stomach, right? That's always, a good one to balance because that relates to worry, and everybody has worry, right? So we're always balancing worry with the earth element. And then we have metal, and metal addresses the large intestine and the lungs. And their partners, yin and yang in Chinese medicine, right? And, we look at the respiratory system and there's, lots to going on with the digestive system, and the emotion around the metal element is grief, right? And I always say grief is probably the hardest emotion, or one of the hardest emotions to process, right? Yeah, stress and worry, they're all hard, but I don't know. That one is the metal element. And then we have the water element, and that's the kidney bladder system. And that's fear or overwhelm, right? And that's the winter time. So that would be like, when people are hibernating, it's really cold, and your inner reserves, like going inward, like a bear, right? Hibernation. And then we have spring, which is wood, and that's the gallbladder liver. And that is also frustration, anger. So people that may have like that, might be an imbalance in their emotions if they're like explosive or they're yelling and screaming, right? Their wood element might be imbalanced. So yeah.
So thank you so much for clarifying this because I feel it gives a little bit of a roadmap to people. And another thing that's very intriguing that I always talk to our mentor, Dr. Janet Galipo, about is that you can have predominant, like you said, she said you're fire and earth, right?
Yeah,
Like predominance, but depending on the phase of our lives or whatever's going on, we may have imbalances in other elements too,
that's right. That's right.
right?
They will influence one another. They
Yes.
do, for sure. It's a bi-directional relationship, no doubt.
Like some people are like not maybe naturally explosive and just they have even like their physicality shows a little like the wood element, right?
Uh-huh.
But not necessarily they have a wood element imbalance. They may have, it's just a part of their constitution. So I think it's all very fascinating. And I believe that if people want to dig deeper and know themselves better, and the Cardinal Method is all about knowing yourself and
Hmm.
balancing yourself and transforming whatever it is that is not in alignment.
Hmm.
How can they, how can people find you to have a session? Because you combine different
No doubt.
modalities and you're so, you know, accurate about how to pinpoint someone's individual situation in the present moment and even their own nature. So
Mhm.
how can people find you?
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I do have a website. It's
Mhm.
Susan Hally, SusanHally.com.
Okay.
That's the best way. Or through you, perhaps,
Yes,
through
definitely.
you. And you could always give my phone number and we talk. So yeah, we're
Yes,
in
for
touch.
referral. But I'm going to actually put your website under the video so that people can reach
Wonderful.
out and
Thank
then they
you.
have all the information to
Yeah.
find you
Thank
and
you.
look
And then they
at
could read a
you.
little bit about what I do and how I got there and a little bit deeper dive.
I love it. So you're
Yeah.
a practitioner and an instructor as well, right?
Yes.
I
Yes.
love it. Thank you so, so much. This has been a blessing.
Oh,
You're
I
such a
always love
treat.
seeing you and being in the truth with you and sharing. So yeah, and I look forward to seeing you in a few weeks.
Yes, we have a constellation coming up. Susan's always been a part of the South Florida in-person constellation team,
I'm
right? So
looking
it's going to be a
forward to
beautiful.
it.
Oh, we're going to be together again since 2015 when I mean, I met you in 2014 when I was taking all the trainings. And then
Hmm.
when I decided to hold in-person group constellations in South Florida, I felt ready because it took me a while to feel ready. You were there supporting it, and now you're,
I
still
love it.
holding
Yes.
hands after
Holding
so many years.
space. Yes,
Yes,
holding
holding
space.
space for all
And
of
I
us.
love the crystals. Look, I'm wearing one from like 2000.
Oh, I
I think you gave this in
remember.
19 when we went
Yes,
to Body Intuitive
I think so.
conference.
Yes.
Right? Yeah,
Yes,
it's so
yes.
beautiful. I put it on today. So
It's a cardinal method clear quartz
yeah,
pendant. I
yeah,
love, love, love that. Yeah, I
thank you.
love it. It landed for
It's,
you. Yes, it was when I started the shop actually, when I
mhm,
decided to, okay, I'm gonna have a crystal shop for specific clients, and you got that. I love it.
yeah,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much, my love.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you. Thank you
too.
everybody for watching. And Susan, thank you for your presence. And all the
Thank,
information is gonna be below the video here. Many blessings, and we'll see each other soon.
thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.